Hello again. I'm Jeddy Ruiz, call sign Bronco. I did serve in the United States Marine Corps, and what I'm currently doing is that I am an instructor with the Escambia County School District at the Flight Adventure Deck. Okay, here at the Flight Adventure Deck you can see me working with some of our 6th graders. Hard-charging 6th graders, the Bailey Bulldogs. And in fact, one of the students, Colley's his name, who you see me giving a fist bump to. That was the 2nd time there. First time he came there with a Workman Middle School. He loved it so much, wanted to come back a 2nd time. And when I'm not there, I'm a facilitator at the National Flight Academy and the Joint Operations Center. What we're about to do is go over some of the alloys that are used on military aircraft or even any kind of aircraft, and how they can benefit the manufacturing of aircraft. What are 3 advantages in using alloys on an aircraft? Now let's answer the question on why it's advantageous in using those alloys. One is that now you end up with a lighter weight in manufacturing the aircraft. You're probably wondering though, why would that be an advantage? The reason why is with an aircraft which is not as heavy, the aircraft would now require less fuel. Now you're probably still wondering, how's that an advantage? Well, since it's lighter, you can add more fuel so that the aircraft can fly longer and farther. Or you could add more passengers in the case of a commercial aircraft, the airlines. Or you could add more bombs, or a combination of any of the above. That is one reason why you want to use alloys, which are much lighter in weight. Another advantage, the alloy is much stronger. As an example, when you combine iron and carbon fiber, you end up with steel, and steel is much stronger than iron. Another question is, why would you use steel on the tailpipe instead of other metals? Well, use some critical thinking with this. As you know, the tailpipe is where you saw the exhaust of the jet coming out. Now, wouldn't this get very hot? Yes, it would. The melting point for steel is more than double the melting point for aluminum. Steel is also much stronger than aluminum and can withstand the heat generated by the exhaust. Why would you use steel on the arresting hook instead of another material? Remember, in a carrier landing, the arresting hook will catch a wire to enable a full stop landing. Steel is needed for its strength. This way, this tail hook does not break when it hits the carrier deck and catches the wire, and then the aircraft can have a successful arrested landing. One other answer to a question that I asked you is, what are the metals which make up steel? The answer to that is carbon and also iron. And what's the advantage of mixing carbon and iron to get steel? The answer to that is that there would be less susceptibility to corrosion, oxidation, and also rust. And as a reminder, the reason why you end up using steel on the landing gear is because of the impact of the aircraft when it lands on the carrier deck or during any other landing. The last thing that you want to have happen is for the landing gear to collapse. One other question. The F-35 Lightning uses titanium on the landing gear. Why would you end up using titanium on the landing gear instead of steel? And which one would have less susceptibility to oxidation, corrosion, and also rust? Well, the answer to that is titanium. And the reason why they now use titanium, again, it's a stronger metal than steel, and it is also lighter and much more resistant to oxidation, corrosion, and rust than steel. We went over a little bit about alloys on the F-18 Hornet. Question that you might have is, well, Bronco, what other airplanes besides the F-18 use alloys? And would you be able to show us some of those aircraft? I certainly will. Let's get started. What you see here is the F14 Tomcat. It was a lead fighter or main fighter in the 1980s. Then eventually it was deactivated. It's a two-seat airplane in which you have the pilot in the front and a radar intercept officer in the back. It is a dual-engine fighter, and it was used to protect the fleet. A couple of fun facts about the F-14. This was in the movie Top Gun 1, and also at the very beginning of Top Gun 2. Another fun fact is that one of the instructors who I'd served with was a flight instructor and also Top Gun graduate at VT-86 when I was a flight student. His name is Marco Cromartie. In addition to flying the F-14, he was also in the movie Top Gun as one of the extras, as you can see here in these pictures. Marco's doing some great things today. He's the Director for General Services at the Port of San Diego. And I was very glad when I saw him back in November at the Black Pilots Reunion during the week of the Blue Angel Air Show, the night before the Blue Angel Homecoming Air Show. So shout out to you, Marco. Look forward to seeing you again. Anyway, this is the F-14 Tomcat. The airplane that you have here is the F-5 Tiger, another airplane that used alloys or uses alloys. The F-5 Tiger, as far as a fun fact, you saw this in the movie Top Gun, the black airplanes, which were told those are MiG-28s. Here's another neat fact about the F-5 Tiger, is that the T-38 Talon, which is also a modification, that is used during Air Force flight training. So the privilege that our Air Force flight students have is that now when they go through training, they are essentially flying a fighter aircraft, which is used in other nations. And the T-38 is also flown by our NASA pilots. Neat airplane. Wish we had this during flight school. Although we did have the TA-4, which the A-4 is also used in other countries as a combat airplane. You might be wondering, thinking, Bronco, why do they have that barber pole in front of the airplane? That is what's called the Pitot Tube. You're probably also wondering, why do you have this cover on the front of the Pitot Tube? A reason why is that you don't want to get debris on the inside. Because remember, I mentioned on the F-18 that air is going to go in. This way, you're able to get the indicated airspeed of the aircraft by using the Pitot Tube. Another aircraft that uses alloys is the F-16, the F-16 Falcon. You might be wondering, thinking, Bronco, why do they have the F-16 Falcon here at the Naval Aviation Museum? One thing about the museum here is that they will have aircraft which not only fly in the Navy and the Marine Corps, but also have flown with the Navy and also the Marine Corps. In this case, notice the Top Gun patch on the tail. This airplane, it is flown at the Top Gun as the aggressor aircraft. You might also be wondering, thinking, Bronco, can you give us a fun fact about the F-16? I certainly can. If you ever watched the movie Iron Eagle, it was in that movie. And in that movie, remember, you had a kid who went ahead and stole an F-16 and flew it to go ahead and save his dad. And remember, he flew with Lou Gossett. Lou Gossett was the leading actor in that movie. The F-16 also uses alloys. You might be wondering, Bronco, is there another fun fact about the F-16? Well, there certainly is. In addition to being a frontline aircraft for some nations, such as the Israelis, it did earn its mark, or earn its keep, in which there was a successful raid on the Iraqi reactor. This was years ago during the 1980s. And you're probably thinking, well, Bronco, in the Air Force, what other fun fact would you have about the F-16? Well, here it is. Some of y'all might have been to air shows in which you saw the Blue Angels. Some of y'all might have also been to air shows in which you saw the Thunderbirds. Well, guess what? The Thunderbirds fly the F-16. So that's another fun fact for our viewers. When we take a look here, you might be wondering, Bronco, is that the Pitot Tube? It sure is. And remember, I went over with you what the function of the Pitot Tube is on the video with the F-18. And you also have a Pitot Tube right here, which you can see. And remember, this external probe is the angle of attack vane, which I also went over that with you. Earlier I mentioned that the F-5 or even the T-38 Talon that's flown in the United States Air Force during training. As you see here, it looks like during Top Gun they also flew the T-38 in the role as a adversary aircraft. When you saw Top Gun 1, they were flying the A-4 Skyhawk. When you watch Top Gun 2, and also today, they're flying the F16 Falcon as the adversary aircraft, which our fighter pilots go against. Anyway, it's just kind of neat that the T-38 was also flown at the Top Gun. So that would also be a reason why you have the F-5 Tiger here. Now, wasn't that a great time in which you saw a few different airplanes which used alloys? And these airplanes were flown by heroes. Heroes that had defended your country. That was definitely a great time. One thing that I ask though from y'all is that if there's another topic which you would like for us to cover, please let us know and we would be glad to go ahead and develop something for you, some kind of content. And if you would like more, then please come out and see us at the Flight Adventure Deck, especially our middle school students. If you're ever at the Naval Aviation Museum down here in Pensacola, Florida, please drop by my office at the Flight Adventure Deck. We'll have us a short chat, and then I'll bring you down for lunch at the QB Bar Cafe, and I'll go ahead and treat you to that, and that'll be on me. One final note though is if you saw this on the Escambia County School District Science YouTube channel, please go ahead and like, comment, or even subscribe. Or if you saw this on any other social media network, please do the same thing. Till next time, thanks for watching, and ciao, adios, pa'alam, and hanggang sa muli.